Welcome. Tonight, we journey together to a crowded street in ancient Rome. Above the clatter of merchants, narrow alleys lead us to a humble insula, an apartment block of wood and brick, its windows like sleepy eyes half closed in the dawn light. Here, families rise, neighbors stir, and the gentle rhythms of daily life begin.
In the uppermost chamber, where morning light first finds its way, a gentle stirring begins. A single narrow window, framed by wooden shutters, hovers above a simple cot. The mother, Lucilla, lies curled beneath coarse woolen blankets. Her eyelashes flutter as a bird's distant trill finds its way in. Slowly she reaches out, tracing the faint line where stone wall meets floor, seeking the small clay lamp at her bedside. Fingers brushing its smooth surface, she lifts it upright, inviting its gentle glow. The lamp's wick, trimmed the night before, breathes life into the room. The flame is modest, no more than a pale ember, but it moves like a whisper of sunrise. Shadows, once utterly black, melt into muted grays. Lucilla pauses to let the half-light settle before she rolls out of bed onto straw-woven mats that rattle softly beneath her feet. Lucilla moves toward the wooden shutter. Its grain is worn by countless openings and closings. She tugs it wide, each plank whispering as it pivots on iron hinges, revealing a courtyard below. Through the narrow opening, she can make out a line of clay jars, each awaiting her touch. On the ground, there's a shallow stone basin, its carved rim worn smooth, where she will pour the first water of the day. She steps down from the raised alcove, bare feet meeting cool flagstones, warmed only by the lamp's lingering glow. In the dim half-light, her child, 2-year-old Marcus, stirs on a low pallet. He rubs sleep from his eyes as she lifts him gently, balancing him on one hip while she slips out the door. Outside, the alley is hushed. A stray cat slinks past, pausing to rub against Lucilla's sandaled foot before slinking on. The dawn air is crisp. Birds, perhaps sparrows, chirp in chorus above the clay-tiled roofs. Lucilla lets the silence settle around her as she crosses to the communal fountain at the courtyard's center. The fountain's stone lip is echo quiet, a shallow bowl carved into a larger basin. The aqueduct's last night's flow remains, so she places her empty jar beneath the spout. Water spills in a slow, measured stream, coolness rippling outward. She tips the jar just so, coaxing bubbles up the side before lifting it off with the gentle hiss of liquid meeting air. With each filled jar, her arms carry weight and expectation. The journey back to her insula is unhurried, pause by pause, a stone to step over, a loose tile to avoid, a glance at the distant rooftops turning pink. Back inside, Lucilla places the jar near the hearth. The hearth is simple, 3 stones balanced to cradle a clay pot. Ashes from yesterday's fire lie cold, but Lucilla kindles tiny embers from last night's coals, coaxing them with breath until they catch. She adds a few slivers of kindling, olive wood if she's fortunate, or pine if it must suffice. Smoke curls upward, finding the small vent above the chimney. The pot, once cold, warms quickly. Inside are barley groats,
simple grains that swell in the embrace of heat and water. Lucilla stirs with a wooden paddle, scraping the pot's side in slow circles. The barley bubbles quietly, releasing a faint, nutty aroma. She pauses, inhaling its comfort, before returning the paddle to its measured dance. Marcus, nestled in a corner of the room, watches with wide eyes. He reaches for the paddle's handle. Lucilla sets him aside gently. He giggles, teeth flashing in soft lamplight. She dips a small ladle, testing the porridge's texture. It clings to the sides, neither too thin nor too thick. Satisfied, she ladles a small portion into a shallow bowl. The first bite is careful, Marcus's lips pursed, tongue exploring the warm grain. His mother watches, her eyes soft. Outside, a neighbor's rooster crows, punctuating the morning's quiet symphony.
While the porridge sustains Marcus, Lucilla picks up a simple broom, woven reed bound to a carved handle. She sweeps in long, curved strokes, guiding dust toward the single doorway. Each pass of the broom carries the pale ash particles across the flagstones, tiny flecks dancing in the lamplight. She moves deliberately, corner by corner, ledge by ledge. Under the hearth, an accumulation of coals turned to powder is brushed into a small clay dish, destined for soap making later in the week. On the shelf, a stack of folded cloth, linen wraps Marcus used just yesterday, lies ready for washing. Outside again, the Insula's courtyard begins to hum. A washerwoman kneels by a bowl of water, agitating linen tunics. The faint scrape of wooden paddles on stone drifts upward. Lucilla pauses at the window, exchanging a nod, no words necessary. In this shared silence, kinship is born. Lucilla lays the broom aside and gathers her supplies. 2 filled water jars, the bowl of barley porridge, a cloth sack containing a small loaf of bread, and an oil lamp. She secures Marcus on her hip once more, his head resting against her shoulder, breathing steady in sleep. They step toward the door. As she opens the shutter fully, sunlight floods the room, pale gold at first, then stronger, chasing away shadows. The courtyard is alive now, children chasing a stray hoop, a baker carrying trays of fresh bread, a merchant unrolling a tapestry on a stand. Lucilla sets Marcus on the threshold, where he stands wobbly but determined. She offers him a small crust of bread, which he accepts with sleepy delight. She takes a steadying arm around him and lifts her jars onto a wooden yoke. One final glance at the cool flagstones, and they step out together, ready for the day's next slow rhythm.
We leave the Insula's threshold now, burdened with water and porridge. Ahead lies the fountain, the wash, and the gentle work of cleansing. Join me in the next chapter as we follow this family deeper into the cool embrace of water and ritual. Standing at the threshold, Lucilla pauses. The courtyard's center is dominated by a simple fountain, a round stone basin carved from pale marble, worn smooth at its lip. A slender jet of water arcs gracefully from a moss-dappled spout, falling in a steady, measured stream. Each drop rings against the basin's floor, an echo that resonates softly off surrounding walls. She places her jars, two large clay vessels with narrow necks and rounded shoulders, beside the fountain's rim. The surface of the water trembles slightly, as though welcoming her return. Lucilla cups her hands beneath the flow, filling them again and again, letting the liquid trickle through her fingers before tipping it carefully into the waiting jars. With each fill, she feels the coolness seep through the clay's porous thickness, a stark contrast to the rising heat of the morning. Nearby, a small child splashes barefoot, squealing in delight, and an elderly woman stoops to wash her face. All around, the fountain hums with gentle industry. Now laden with fresh water, Lucilla lifts one jar by its handle and cradles the other against her hip. The jar's shapes are familiar, each curve shaped by hands long gone, each scratch on their surfaces a testament to countless mornings like this. She steps onto the short flight of stone steps leading to the Insula's second floor. With each upward step, the jars sway gently. Lucilla balances the weight across her body, mindful of every movement. Her bare feet find purchase on the worn stones, each one polished smooth by generations of footfalls. In the hush, the echo of her sandals is met only by the distant drip of a leaking tap somewhere above. She pauses halfway, placing the jars on a small landing. Leaning against the cool stone wall, she breathes, the water's weight pressing softly into her arms. Through a narrow window, she glimpses the street below. Laundry lines strung between balconies, clay rooftops glowing in pale light, and a bakery's smoke plume rising skyward. After a moment's rest, she resumes, ascending to the third floor. Children lean from their shuttered windows, watching her pass. A neighbor offers a silent nod, and Lucilla smiles in return. A quiet communion of shared routines. In the upper chamber, Lucilla places the jars on a low stone shelf. Their contents will serve both body and clothing. But first, she turns her attention to the rows of linen garments awaiting renewal. A simple wooden tub stands in the corner, a shallow basin of oiled cedar, darkened by water and age. She lifts the tub, sliding it under the window so that soft morning light filters in, catching motes of dust in its beam. The light reveals faint stains on the white fabric, a ring where a cup once sat, thin lines where the tunics brushed against sun-heated walls. Each mark tells a story. With the tub in place, she pours one jar's water slowly, letting it pool and settle. The surface ripples, then stills, like a quiet lake before dawn. In her other hand, she carries a small clay bowl containing homemade lye soap, hardened discs made from ash and rendered oil, their edges worn smooth. She breaks a piece, a quarter of the disc, and plunges it into the water. A soft sizzle whispers as the soap dissolves, tinting the water a faint milky gray. Lucilla tastes the edge of her palm. No bitterness, just the sharp clarity of ash and the subtle warmth of oil. As the garments swirl, Lucilla watches them like pages in a slow-moving book. She imagines the laughter of the family's meals, the dust of the market stalls, the rough touch of the day's work. Then, with careful precision, she rattles the paddle twice and lets the cleaning cycle continue uninterrupted. One by one, Lucilla lifts each tunic by its shoulders and dips it fully into the soapy water. The linen floats for a moment, then sinks, embracing the liquid's cool embrace. She presses it gently, submerging and rising in a slow, repeated cadence. To agitate the cloth, she uses a carved wooden paddle, simple in design, ends smoothed by countless uses. She sets the paddle into motion, plunging it down and pulling it back in rhythmic strokes. The sound is soft and hollow, like distant thunder through a wide valley. With each stroke, stains loosen, the brown remnants of last night's meal, the reddish smudge where Marcus toddled in clay. Lucilla hears the faint tearing of water through fabric as dirt escapes. She lifts the paddle, allowing bubbles to rise, soap suds cupping on the surface before they dissolve. After a full quarter-hour of gentle agitation, Lucilla stops. She lifts the paddle and drains the soapy water into a small clay ewer. The water flows with a quiet murmur. It's gray, heavy with captured dust. She drags the tub out into the corridor's open window, positioning it where the morning breeze can help. There she pours fresh water from the remaining jar. The basin fills, and she dips each garment, pressing and lifting to rinse away soap. A final press against the tub's edge releases bubbles that float away on the breeze. The corridor's stone floor catches the spill, small rivulets tracing pathways toward a floor drain. Below, Lucilla hears the distant spatter of wastewater making its final descent. The corridor feels cooler here, lit by soft daylight and stirred by a gentle current. She repeats the rinse twice more, each time richer in clarity. The water grows paler until not even a hint of soap remains. Lucilla lifts each garment, letting excess water drip back into the basin before she drapes the linen over a wooden rail fixed to the outside wall. As the linen dries, Lucilla returns to the small clay bowl. The soap she used was but 1/4 of the disc, a remnant from a larger batch she prepared last week. Let us pause for a moment to understand this quiet art. In the kitchen hearth, she combined wood ash, collected from the fire's residue, with water, creating a lye solution. Into this, she stirred rendered animal fat, heated until the mixture thickened into a pale, soapy paste. Then, poured into simple molds, it cooled into the discs she now uses. This process, passed from mother to daughter, embodies patience. It cannot be rushed. The ash must settle, the fat must render fully, the mixture must cool overnight. Each disc holds the essence of sunlit olive wood, the warmth of the hearth, and the quiet labor of yesterday's fire. With the last garment hanging to dry, Lucilla gathers her emptied jars and the soap remnant. Before she departs, she returns to the fountain for one final blessing. Water, she believes, carries life and spirit. It cleanses not only cloth, but also the soul. She kneels by the fountain's edge and cups her hands, drawing a small pool of water. She splashes her face, just a whisper of coolness, then rubs her wrists and neck.
Each droplet carries the morning's hush. Each touch is a reminder that in these simple acts, life renews itself. Standing, she breathes deeply, the faint fragrance of soap, the earthy scent of damp stone, and the distant aroma of fresh bread from the bakery next door. With this blessing complete, Lucilla gathers her tools. The paddle is hung back by the tub, the basin is carried inside to drain, and the curtain of the shutter is closed to preserve the morning light within.
And so, with garments cleansed and water blessed, we leave Lucilla's courtyard for now. In the next chapter, we will ascend again, this time to the communal baths, where steam and stones carry us deeper into the ancient world's rituals of rest and renewal. Until then, breathe and let these gentle waters guide you.